The PGA Tour heads to Detroit, Michigan in the Rocket Mortgage Classic, where we've got a couple of favorites who might be exhausted from last week. Tom Kim, that playoff with Scotty Scheffler, Cameron Young, Akshay Bhatia. Are those three guys really the smart ones to bet on? We have exclusive insight, professional insight from the one and only James Nitty's joining us now on the Golfbet Roundtable. James, I know you're shaking your head, but Ben and I agree. You are a pros pro. And guys, this guy is going to give us all the sneaky long shots you need from the Rocket Mortgage this week.
You boys must have been scraping the barrel to get me on here today, but I'm happy to sit down and throw some random action at you. I like action myself, so they're not going to be based off exact statistics and all the modules that you boys know how to get to. But hey, I'm frisky. I like to have a bit of fun, so let's go.
We love a bit of betting with the heart and the head mixed together, James. So we're looking forward to your insight. You've been there in the furnace, inside the ropes. We can pretend all we like that we know what it's like, but you've been there and done that. Played on the tour, played a lot on the Korn Ferry Tour as well, which, as we know, a lot of the guys who've come up through those ranks will be playing this week. He'll have a special insight on who may well be sneaky surprises here at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. I'm excited to hear what you got to say.
Let's get to it, James. I mean, you've got a power ranking system 1 through 5 of guys who have been on the Korn Ferry Tour in the past, and you'll notice all these guys are holding trophies. They've all won on that tour. Go through with us, and Ben can kind of give you a little insight as well of why these 5 guys you think people should be looking at this week in Detroit.
Well, yes, Korn Ferry Tour is close to my heart. I cover all these guys for most of the years. I know a lot of those guys from playing out on the Korn Ferry Tour. And it's hard because, you know, when you asked me to do this, you were kind of adjusting it towards this course in Detroit this week. So, you know, I've had favorites. There's a lot of guys that I thought would have done well this year from our graduation of the class last year. I think it's one of the best classes in a long time. I thought there was going to be 5 PGA Tour victories come from this Korn Ferry Tour class. There's been 3, so there's still room to get that 5. But these are the guys I think that based on form or how they will fit the course that I think will do best this week. And number one, you can see I'll start with the best mustache on the PGA Tour, the Korn Ferry Tour rookie, Chandler Phillips. Tombstone's his favorite movie. He could actually probably act in that movie with the way his persona and the atmosphere around him. He's having a good season for a rookie on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's 87 on the FedEx. He's only missed 3 cuts. If you remember, he battled with Cameron Young at the and Malnati at the Valspar. Probably should have got that done. Really had a great opportunity down the stretch. He's coming into form. He's at a 12th and a top 10 in his last 2 starts. And he's number 1 on tour from 125 to 150 yards in approach. So number 1, you're a Korn Ferry Tour rookie to come out on the PGA Tour, you're a rookie, and you're leading that statistic, that a course that pretty much asks for you to hit it great from that area.
That's Ben's new stat, by the way. Solid. As of today, that's Ben's new key stat. As of today.
Under 150 yards. Under 150 yards this week with your wedge game's got to be perfect. So you've given us a great leg up already with Chandler Phillips.
Yeah, and then the last thing I would touch on, look, he hasn't hit a lot. He needs to hit more fairways. Guy doesn't hit a long way. But if he does, which this week, we're going to have some weather. The the fairways are wide, so it's going to be easier to hit fairways. If he's great with mid-irons to wedges in his hand, I think he's going to pretty much be the guy out of the Korn Ferry Tour kind of graduates that I think will do the best this week.
The guy who's number 2 on your list there, do you think Ben Coles has some demons based on what happened to him a little while ago?
100%.
He does.
And he pretty much tied that tournament in a bow at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, and gave it to Taylor Pendrith. And look, the reason I've got him number 2 on that list is because he played 2 seasons on the PGA Tour, didn't play well, went back to the Korn Ferry Tour last season, got Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year, and I feel like I'm saying Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year, finished number one on the points list, dominated, and it was all due to his change in mindset. He's just trying to take a little bit of pressure off himself, have a bit more fun, and to come out and do that at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson at a course that I think is probably most similar to the one they're playing this week at the Rocket Mortgage. I think, yes, with the demons of losing that, but he plays well on that style of golf course, hits it really straight, plays great from the fairway, putts amazingly, and he's accurate. I think it's just going to be, and also he's been playing okay over the past few weeks, played kind of not too bad at the US Open. And I just think out of this crew, he's a veteran. He's been on the tour before. There's no real shining light on him right now. He's under the radar. So I think he'll kind of form that little bit of chip on his shoulder from losing that to Taylor Pendrith and might do really well in at this course this week.
So tying it back to the betting markets too here, James, like obviously he might have some demons down the stretch if he's in the chance to win, but where you can look at him when you've got these odds is the place markets, right? You're going to get good value for him to be top 10, top 20, top 40 even, starting at 200 to 1. So perhaps that's what people need to look at when they're looking at your guys here. Like we know Alejandro Tosti is a firebrand. He's a rocket at the Rocket Mortgage. To me, it's rocks or diamonds with him. If he's on, he can absolutely win this thing. But he'll find his way to the top, right? So you're going to get value across many of the place markets as well with any of these guys.
Yeah, look, once again, like doing this list, it's all going to be value. I would have put one of them in my long shot category, especially Chandler Phillips, if I thought that they were going to be better than those guys in those categories. But these are just, as I said to start the show, Fancy Free and Footloose. I love the Korn Ferry Tour guys. These are guys you might get value off in other events as well, not just this week. But you said Toasty's a firecracker. I thought he would be Rookie of the Year. He was like my guess that he will come from nowhere and possibly win an event by 4 or 5 shots. He's just got that pedigree. When he's in it, in contention, he's like a bulldog, and he kind of thrives. We saw him at Houston nearly steal that event away from Stephen Yeager at the end, but also Scotty Scheffler. He finished second there. He hits it a country mile. He's 5'7", and I think he's got club head speed of like 125, so top 10 on tour in club head speed. And he's just, as I said, he plays good at difficult courses, but he knows how to go low. We saw him do it a bunch of times on the Korn Ferry Tour. And yeah, he's fun. He's one of my more fun players to watch, I would say, because you know exactly how he's doing. He's either gonna, I think in Houston, he had a go at Tony Finau. Those two nearly got in a bit of a verbal altercation. So he's even being a rookie on the PGA Tour, he doesn't take crap from anyone, and it's one of those things where he doesn't feel like a rookie because he is almost in his own little bubble with the way he competes.
Would you consider taking him as a wild card in the President's Cup?
100%.
Wow.
He would be tenacious as a guy in match play. That's for sure.
Sensational.
Real quick here before we move on, go ahead and give us a little bit on Gottrup. Obviously, he's won on tour recently, and then Chan Kim as well.
Yeah, so Goddard, you won Myrtle Beach by 6 shots. Another guy that came out as an amateur, had a top 10 on the PGA Tour, sponsors invitation in his first year as a professional, finished 4th at the John Deere, went back to the Korn Ferry Tour, got his card, then come back out. And I thought he was the more polished guy that I thought would just slot into being top 70 on the FedEx Cup at the end of the year. Like, I really thought that he'd be, the way that his traits, he hits it a long way, hits it straight, good around the greens, good, and more of just a veteran, I feel like, in a lot more professional events. But he played well before Myrtle Beach at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. Like I said, the course that kind of similar to here. So he's one of those guys, speed bandits, club head speed of 124 miles per hour. But as quickly, like you just said, winning by 6 at Myrtle Beach, he's kind of set up now for the next couple of years. So he can come here at a course where everyone's going to make birdies. It's going to be tough to separate. So I think come the weekend, he might be a guy that's right there. And then Chan Kim, one of my favorite 34-year-old PGA Tour rookies that's played multiple majors. I think he's played 13 major championships. He's won 8 times on the Japanese golf tour. He's finished top 15 at the Open Championship. He's a guy that I thought could possibly win out here in his first year as a rookie on the PGA Tour because he's been so well-traveled. He's been top 60 in the world before, just playing out of Japan. He's actually a character. Get a couple cocktails into him and you'll have a fun time. But he's one of those guys, I think, that he would have easily kept his card this year and possibly got a victory. And a course like this, another guy hits it fairly decent off the tee, great from the fairway, great around the greens, just doesn't putt well. So at this event where we're going to get a lot of birdies, maybe he gets a little bit of confidence with the putter, and then he knows how to win. So he's another exciting guy that's started well. I think he's had 2 top 10s this season, and he's in 7 events. He's had 66 or better in the first round and only converted to 2 top 10s. So he gets off to a good start. He just hasn't really kept it going throughout the rest of the week. So he's just another guy that's a one to look at, especially at a course that's going to need a lot of birdies.
One of the reasons, mate, we got you to do this is, and speak to me if I'm wrong here, but in the summer session of the PGA Tour, obviously last week and this week's the same, you got to go stupid low.
Exactly.
Right? You've got to go lights out every round, 6 under, whatever. And that's what the Korn Ferry Tour is generally every week, right? Like, these guys are brought up into that system of there's no time to waste, there's no feeling your way in. So all of a sudden, even though it's a PGA Tour event, they're accustomed to it, right? They're accustomed to needing to go from the starter's gun, right?
Yeah, so, and I'll tie that into a finishing touch on Chan Kim. He's a guy that never really had status over here. He's played plenty of PGA Tour events, but he went to Korn Ferry Tour Q School, then got his card for the next year, then went back to Japan the very next week, shot 32 under, won by 5 shots or 6 shots.
Jeez.
Then came back to the Korn Ferry Tour the next season, and he spoke about, after the first couple of events, he's like, man, you got to go so low. I need to adjust my game and be a little bit more aggressive. I didn't think this is how golf was meant to be played. So he did that and then went on and to win twice on the Korn Ferry Tour. So just a little mindset. So a course like this week in Detroit, I think he knows how to go low. He's one of those guys that's proven it and won doing it, not only on the Korn Ferry Tour, but over in Japan. So it's a perfect week for him.
So if anybody out there is wanting to look at various markets out there, these guys are going to have some serious value. That is James's Korn Ferry related power rankings for the Rocket Mortgage. Let's go to the next topic here. Everyone is going to want to talk about this with Tom Kim in the playoff and Cam Young's 59 really coming back and I believe having a share of the lead at one point with all of those guys on Sunday. Then Akshay Bhatia was right there too at the very end. He had a co-lead at some point on Sunday. James, tie it all in together in terms of these guys being exhausted, these guys having the mental, fatigue of competing last week. What is the mindset of these 3 stars, who are all the favorites, by the way, their mentality of coming so close and almost winning last week? Do you like any of these 3?
Of course. Tom Kim, I didn't choose him to win this week with you guys because that's the low-hanging fruit. I mean, he hasn't been informed this season, actually. You talk about a 3-time winner on the PGA Tour that's only 21, but they kind of came a little while back, and before he got on this hot run in the last couple of weeks at the US Open and at Travelers, his best result was a top 10 top 20 back at the WM Phoenix Open like 4 months ago. So he hasn't had the best season. But I think Tom Kim now, you give him a week where he went up against Scotty Scheffler. He got shown that he not only could he win on the PGA Tour, but now he could go, toe-to-toe with the best player on earth. And now he gets to go to an event where he knows he's the favorite. So you put him in that. I think I'll put aside the fact that he's played that many weeks in a row. Fatigue. He's a kid in a candy store. He's riding high on adrenaline right now. He could play 15 weeks straight. He's going to be fine. And then it's with the pedigree of how he's playing. So obviously Tom Kim, Akshay Bhatia, a guy that doesn't get talked about much in the favourite kind of scenario list on podcasts and on TV, all that sort of stuff. So that would override maybe the fatigue he's felt from not having his best day in the final round at the Travellers. So he's going to go in and being like, man, I'm never talked about as a favourite. This is kind of cool. So maybe he kind of focuses a little bit extra this week, considering now he's believed to be in the conversation with some of the best players at the event. And then Cam Young, he's had an up and down season. He's a guy that obviously should have most likely won the Valspar. He's gone so close so often. He's had 6 or 7 runner-up finishes. He's an athlete. I would put him in the athlete conversation. Yeah, he's not as young as the other two, but he's just fine with playing this many weeks in a row. And then just believing. I got a chance to cover his 59 at the Travellers on PGA Tour Live last week, and it was very impressive how good he was from the fairway. I hate to harp on that, but his approach game, he didn't even need a putter. The amount of times he could walk up and just kick it in or make it from the fairway, he was just on fire. He was a little bit inconsistent finding fairways, but no matter this week, it's wide enough, it's going to be soft enough, so he'll be able to use his distance. And he's putting well, something he hasn't done all season. So it's, throw a little bit in with confidence and nothing to lose, because everyone's kind of glossing over the fact now that he hasn't won yet until he's in contention. He wasn't really in contention last week. Yes, he shot 59, he was around the lead, but he kind of knew that he would have entered the last day 5 or 6 shots back. But then he came out, 4 birdies in the first. I think he just ran out of birdies because he's like, I've made so many. This is getting pretty crazy right here. So, all 3 of those guys, obviously favourites, and, easy to put a little cash down on them. But I like to think a little bit out the box this week and get some long action.
No concerns. 3 for 3, Benny. I didn't think he was going to say that.
Yeah, look, as I said, I think 1 or 2 of them is going to be in the top 10. I don't know which one of the 3 is going to potentially have a little mini burnout. I do worry about Tom because of the disappointment that he might just have a slow first round. And if that's the case, it's hard to catch up here. But James has been inside the ropes. He knows what he's talking about. He's actually lived it. So I'm prepared to go on his word. 9 weeks in a row is a lot. 8 weeks for Bhatia. And to be fair, James, like we talked up Bhatia last week. He was 80-1. We said he was the smash long shot play. We predicted that you should put him in the top 5, 10, 20, and 40 markets at plus money. I hope anyone who's listening out there got that done and cashed big on him. He's dropped to 20-1 this week. It's still somewhat value. If you think he can keep it up, there's value there. He has been putting ridiculously well last week. He was making all sorts of saves when he wasn't when he needed to. So can he keep that up? I don't know.
Yeah, you said perfectly. I think with all these guys, it just comes down to how they start the event, just to get a little bit of adrenaline. If they get off to a slow start, that's when you start thinking of the 9 weeks in a row.
So you mentioned Tom Kim, maybe not wanting to go with him. Who is your winner then, James? Your winner this week?
Taylor Pendrith for me. It's a guy that's around 30-1 to win, so I know it's not the most glamorous favourite, but the 33-year-old, finally he is healthy. He talked about having that shoulder injury the last couple seasons. Finally came into kind of the middle part of the season with a full bill of health. A guy that hits it miles. I've been saying that a lot due to this week, but he hits it straight and makes a lot of putts. So that's a combination you want on the PGA Tour. And we saw it at the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson, yes, he got handed the event. But, hey, he was right there. You had to make a lot of birdies. Even if he thought he had to go to a playoff, I'm sure he would have delivered. But he made a huge putt on 17. A course at TPC Craig Ranch, once again, very similar in how you need to approach it out there than you do here this week. He was also someone that's played well at this event over the past couple of years. He's at a top 14, was last season. He was a runner-up to Tony Finau in 2022. He led through 36 holes in 2022, and I think in the final round he was the only guy to not shoot 4 under or better in the top 10. So with his even par in the last round and still finish second, it just shows he had plenty in the tank around a place that he loves in this week. So I think it's good odds for a guy I think could possibly going around the high teens or the low 20s to win this event. So I think there's also value there. But I think he's just coming into form of that belief, especially the second part of the season in a President's Cup selection year where adrenaline's not going to fade him. This is his 5th week straight, so he's fresh, he's healthy, and a guy that's starting to really believe, with being a full bill of health, that he's one of the better players in the world, I think, with the traits that he has in his game.
I have to 100% agree with this. He is my second, if you will, outright pick. And I know you've got it there, Chris, too.
He's your best bet.
Yeah, he's top 10. Plus 250, but I absolutely love him as an outright player as well. He was 40 to 1 when he opened, and he's been down
crazy
to 28 to 1 already because people have seen what we have been talking about. Look, he's 4th on the tour in strokes gained putting. You need to putt well this week. Obviously, you're going to give yourself a lot of chances. But where people, I guess, misquoted him in the beginning is his tee to green and whatever stats don't rank well, but that's because of the injury James talked about. He started with an injury, had dramas you've got to take. If you take out all of those poor weeks when he wasn't healthy, all of a sudden his stats rocket up into the top echelon across the board. And so this is a tournament for him to really attack and take to the house. So I think, look, yes, he was handed that win, but that could be the greatest thing that ever happened to him, because he was a guy that got nervous down the stretch. Now he can just say, look, I've done it before. Nothing to worry about, nothing to lose. And with a better mentality in that situation, you could see him winning more and more on the PGA Tour. Again, you mentioned the international team. I know he wants to play in his hometown, in his home country of Canada for the national team. He was there at Quail Hollow. I'd love to see him back on that team again, and especially as this form continues. As much as I'd love to disagree with your pick, James, I think it's a great one, and I think that he'll be there when the whips are cracking on Sunday.
Everyone's high on Pendrith. You've got him as a best bet, Ben. What about your best bet, James?
My best bet would be Alex Noren for top 10. He was a guy that I was possibly thinking to win the event. The 41-year-old from Sweden. He's had a good season on the PGA Tour for him. He's amazing from the fairway. Now, if he does hit fairways, which sometimes he tends to not be as accurate as you would like, he then goes on to easily finish top 5. Funny story, actually. I spent a little time with Alex Noren at the Swedish national team back in Sweden 21 years ago. So we got to train and hang out together. He's a level-headed guy. But, I think just the way he is from the fairway, the seasons he's having, he finished 3rd at the CG Cup Byron Nelson, which I've been referencing, over and over. He's fresh. He likes it also here. He had a, top 5 in 2021 and finished top 10 last season. He putts amazing. So you put a combination of a guy that's having one of his best seasons as a 41-year-old. If he hits fairways, at which he will here because they're so wide, he's great from the fairway and also makes a lot of putts. So with his kind of experience, the kind of course trajectory that he's had playing here over the seasons and how he's played well, how he's played at similar golf courses, knowing that he's coming into this week as possibly one of the favourites, I think with his experience, I think he'll do well.
I might be wrong on this, but I think he still needs to try to qualify for the Open too. And which sounds crazy. I think he should absolutely be there. But I'm sure he'll have that on his mind as well. Keep playing well, keep moving up the rankings and give himself a shot. Because he's the type of guy that could sneaky contend at an Open Championship at any stage as well, right, James?
Oh, for sure. The way he hits it, it's, you can just see, whenever you watch him swing it, he flights the ball beautifully, plays with a very predictable left to right shape, he takes out the left side of the golf course and it doesn't have any scar tissue on the greens. So I can tell you from the wily veteran standpoint that getting on the greens, the hands start to shake these days the older you get. So he's still in that kind of young player mentality where he's looking for his first PGA Tour victory.
Which is crazy.
So there's no Yeah, and there's no comfortability. I mean, the guy's won 11 times around the world, plenty of times on the DP World Tour. And yeah, I think with the weather coming in, possibly might be a little bit of a cold front, might feel like it's playing like a bit of a DP World European tournament, so maybe he can hone on those kind of, feelings and nostalgic. But yeah, he's a very experienced player that should have done much better in his career with how good he hits it.
And you know what? He's got something in common with your winner, Benny. He's never won on the PGA Tour. Is this the week?
Oh, I'm going to give him a shout out here, Cam Young. Look, I am, as I said, do we worry about what happened last week? Did he use up all his energy or not? I don't necessarily think so, because I feel like that T9 is the building block for him. Yes, 59 is always impressive, amazingly so, what the 13th guy to do it on tour. But it is at TPC River Highlands. We know that it's available there. I tend to take from this that he's got some form to make some birdies. He's going to go into another shootout. He knows he's got a chance to play well at a place he's played well before. Was a runner-up here, I think it was, to Tony Finau a few years back. I just think, honestly, and I could be missing someone here, but he's got to be in the conversation for the best player without a win on the tour right now.
With the best skill set, for sure.
Yeah, the best skill set. He and this course is one that absolutely should suit him. He can smash it down there. He can get it in close and give himself a lot of opportunities. And given that he putted well last week, that gives me confidence, because you do need to make a lot of putts. You do need to make your birdie chances when you get them. He's hitting it, like James said, so close he doesn't need his putter half the time. I'm hoping he'll do the same again this week. Look, I don't love the number, 14 to 1. I would like to see it around the 20 mark to get real value. If he was starting in the afternoon, I would tell you to wait, but I've since found out he's starting in the morning, so you might have to bite the bullet and get on at the crappy odds. But still, I want to see him as much as anything else win. I think he deserves it and he's due it. Let's hope he can get it done.
We have talked so much about newer players and younger players. My winner is a newer player and a younger player, but not talked about very much, James. Davis Thompson is the kind of guy who's proven he can go low. He's proven that he can be superstar-ish if he can stay more consistent. He hasn't done it, obviously, on a big stage, and he might have some issues with the putter. I think this is the kind of guy who fits well at this course, because he's been in better recent form than you want to give him credit. Our big thing was recent form this week, Ben, you know that. You look at Thompson's last 5 events, he's got 2 top 10s. So this is the kind of guy, to me, I think if he learns how to win, he can have star status on that tour. What do you think, James?
Definitely. I mean, Thompson was, you notably remember a couple of years ago at the American Express, where he had that huge putt on the last against John Rahm. He didn't know whether to leave the pin in or take it out. It obviously collected the flag stick. I think it was a good move, because it probably saved him having about 12 feet coming back. But he was right there early in his PGA Tour career. And then he played well at the US Open. So he's kind of, dusting off those experience issues at the highest level. Yes, he's contended on the PGA Tour, but then being in contention at the US Open was also a massive deal for him. So, yeah, it does top to bottom statistically, plays great. Another player that kind of goes under the radar. I barely hear him speak. So it's, but hey, his game speaks for himself. So I think it's a good pick. Definitely someone that's not everyone would be looking at, but if you watched him play, definitely passes the eye test, definitely passes the maturity test, and has already had some good results.
Benny's not sold.
No, well, just in terms of win equity, right?
Right. He hasn't done it yet, so he...
I feel like he's a good place better in other weeks when there's a quote-unquote stronger field where you get more value, right? Like, I'm not saying he can't win. Of course he can. He's just got to close the deal for me to be really sold on him, or at least be sort of more aggressive when he's in that spot. But look, I'm happy to be proven wrong, because from all reports he's a great bloke, and that's a good start right there.
He would be a long shot almost every other week, Ben. Your long shot this week is right on the precipice.
Yeah, right on the 50 to 1 cutoff that we do for the long shot. The winner there, you can see at the Century earlier this year. Look, Kirk's just got one of those games that's fit this course in the past. He's played well here. He's got a couple of results. which gives me, great confidence. He's also, as I said, I talked about inside 125 yards. He's second on tour for wedge shots inside 125 yards this year. Also, strokes gained tee to green. All 5 winners were in the top 4 of tee to green when they won the Rocket Mortgage Classic. This season, he's about 33rd, which is one of the top guys in this field this week. So with those things in mind, and the fact that he's played well here before, I think you're getting value at the 50-1 mark for Chris Kirk. He's a proven winner. If he's in the mix, he knows how to get it done. It's going to come down to the putter for him. He's going to have to make a few more than he does most weeks. But as I said, he's done it before. He went low at the Century. He's gone low before. He was quite a few years back now, probably 10 years ago. But he was just carved up through the FedEx Cup playoffs. I remember being there for that. It's locked in there somewhere, James. It never really goes away, does it?
Yeah, true. It's always down in there. It's just finding it. Sometimes you need a torch to get down into the darkness. But not a bad pick. I think he needs the weather to be a little warmer. Being a bit more of a veteran, doesn't hit it a long way off the tee. He can't, if he's not firing it out there and hitting a lot of fairways, he's not going to be able to rely on that part of his game that he really shines, which is 125 yards and in. But if he hits fairways, of course, it's a course of distance in the day and age is not really going to deter too many guys. But yeah, I think he definitely needs to get it done on the greens, Kirky, because he can get hot when the putter gets hot, but it is very streaky.
3 straight top 17s for him at this event. So you never know. That's actually my pick as a top 10 best bet. I got Chris Kirk plus 400 in the top 10. Funny you had mentioned, I think you did it on purpose, James, his age. Your long shot doesn't have that problem.
No. The 22-year-old son of thunder, or baby Thor, as I like to call Michael Thor Bjornsson. And look, this is my long shot. I like Action. He's probably valued a little higher than he should be.
That number is really low.
Yes, and I think it's the hype. It's a hype of all these young guys coming out of PGA Tour University. He finished 1 by a mile in that. He's Ludwig 2.0, Ludwig Oberg 2.0. This guy, good looking, very, very athletic. He will quite quickly probably become one of the longest on tour. Yeah. He hits it miles. Even his college coach said that he's one of the best drivers of the ball he has ever seen in history. Now, I know that's bias coming from the Stanford coach, but 10-finger grip. It plays with a baseball grip, so it's kind of different. That's how you're going to get speed for sure if you want to hit it hard. And he says he loves hitting his driver. His quote is, sometimes it fades a little, sometimes it draws a little, so I just play it pretty straight. And, doing PGA Tour Live at the Travelers last week, every time I would look up a statistic to see, all right, who's got the longest drive here today, it was always him, 350, 360, down the middle. He was spotting Ludwig all week for the first 2 rounds.
Crazy. Around
about 20 yards, 15 yards. Now, he's obviously green, needs to be polished up a little bit. He putts great, but from his wedges, is a little bit off the mark. He's played professional golf well before as an amateur, finished T4 at the Travelers a couple seasons ago. And then last week, in his first debut as a professional, you could tell he was just getting a little more comfortable with the expectations around him. Started with a 2 over par in the first round and then just rattled off 64, 66, 70 to finish in the top 40. So started to nestle into making a lot of birdies. I really do think when this guy gets a little bit of experience that you're never going to see these odds again. So the fact that I like Action and you get to follow like a fun kind of explosive young guy, that if he does play well, the odds will just disappear. This is the week where you could have a little bit of fun. You mightn't win, but you'll get your money's worth in the value of watching this kid play.
What about something like top 5 or top 10 in the first round market? Like where you're going to get 6, 12 to 1, etc. Do you see him as a potential guy that could come out flying out of the blocks and not have the lights scare him until maybe later in the tournament? Is that something that you might advocate?
Yeah, with how he drives it and how he putts it, he could easily come out, and especially with how he trended last week towards the finish, he could easily come out and fire off a low one in round one. So I didn't get real nifty with my bets like you boys, where
we're not nifty.
The
we
top
don't know
17. You're like, top 17, 8-1 on what color socks he wears. Like, I didn't know we were getting there, but so very vanilla.
That's Ben's specialty.
But these are some fun bets.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. I'll make sure we get plenty of good ones in there. I do love the fact that he smashes the ball, and we're going to a place where clearly guys who've smashed the ball before have won. You know, like we've seen some big hitters win there. He hopefully is playing with a little bit of house money, so to speak. You know, like feeling like he can just get out and have a good time. The impetuousness of youth. I'd love to see him. I can't wait to see him over the next few years really build his game on tour. I'm excited to see it. And you're right, Chris, in saying like he should be 100 or 125.
Right.
But at the same token, if he gets up into the top 10 and you still pull the win off at the odds you get, it'll still be fun to watch.
James, you always sell yourself short when I talk to you. You know more about betting. You know tons about the PGA Tour. Go check out James Nitties on PGA Tour Live. What else are you doing nowadays, James?
Just Korn Ferry Tour broadcasts. We've got about 5 or 6 of those coming up. Did PGA Tour Live, did a little US Open World feed. So just trying to get the feet wet in this world where I still don't know what I'm doing, and trying to learn as much as possible on the fly. But I'm having a blast. Keeps me close to the game, and I get to chop it up with boys like you on these fancy betting shows.
Mate, I'm going to put you on the spot right now and say who you got tonight in the big Origin match, New South Wales or Queensland? In the
Oh
second
boy,
match.
we've taken a shift here.
Are you getting up at 6 a.m. your time, 3 a.m. my time to watch the
Should
Blues?
we start a new show?
Sure am. The Blues are coming back. Last game was closer than it looked. Come on, the mighty Blues.
Let's go.
Let me make some graphics for that. Give me about 2 years. Maybe I can figure it out. Hey, my two mates here. I really enjoyed the Golf Bet Roundtable. We'll see you next time.